From deadly feasts to poisoned chalices, medieval royalty turned dinner parties into death traps. These rulers didn't just eliminate rivals, they orchestrated elaborate schemes that wiped out entire courts. Welcome to history's most lethal royal banquets. Let's travel back to 14th century Navarre, where King Charles II earned his nickname the Bad through some seriously questionable dinner party choices. In 1387, this crafty king invited his most trusted advisors to a grand feast at his castle. The menu? Perfectly seasoned meats, fine wines, and a secret ingredient, poison. Charles had carefully planned this deadly dinner, targeting specific guests he saw as threats to his power. As the evening went on, dozens of courtiers began falling ill, clutching their stomachs in agony. By morning, most of his inner circle lay dead. The truly bizarre part? Charles himself accidentally ate some of the poisoned food, though he managed to survive. This event shocked medieval Europe and showed just how far some rulers would go to keep their power. The incident earned Charles his lasting reputation as one of history's most notorious royal hosts. Rome, 54 AD, Emperor Claudius sits down for what would be his last supper. His wife Agrippina had prepared a special dish of mushrooms, but these weren't your ordinary fungi. Agrippina worked with a skilled poisoner named Locusta, who knew exactly which mushrooms would do the job. The story goes that Agrippina served Claudius his favorite mushroom dish, but these were laced with deadly toxins. Some historians say she may have used the death cap mushroom, which looks similar to regular edible mushrooms but packs a lethal punch. Why did she do it? Simple. She wanted her son Nero to become emperor before Claudius could change his mind about the succession. The plan worked perfectly. Claudius died after eating the mushrooms and Nero became the new emperor at just 16 years old. Talk about a family dinner gone wrong. Let's move to medieval England, where King John turned fruit into a weapon of choice. Around 1212, John developed quite the reputation for his special peach garden at Windsor Castle. He would invite nobles who opposed him to sample these seemingly innocent fruits, which he had carefully treated with toxic substances. The peaches looked perfect, ripe, juicy, and impossible to resist. John would often watch as his guests eagerly ate what they thought was a royal delicacy. The poison would work slowly, making it hard to connect the deaths to the royal fruit tasting. Records show that several powerful nobles mysteriously fell ill and died after visiting Windsor Castle. John's peach garden became so notorious that eventually, nobles would politely decline any fruit offered by the king. It's a chilling example of how even the simplest foods could become deadly weapons in the royal Game of Thrones. Sweden, 1563. King Erik XIII threw a grand royal ball that would become infamous in Scandinavian history. The king, paranoid about losing his power, hatched a plan to eliminate his rivals in one swift move. He ordered his servants to prepare special wine barrels mixed with arsenic for specific noble guests. The ballroom was stunning, filled with music, dancing, and crystal glasses of the deadly drink. As the evening progressed, nobles who drank the tainted wine began showing signs of poisoning. The scene turned from celebration to chaos as guests collapsed across the dance floor. Records show that over 30 members of Sweden's most powerful families died that night. Erik's plan backfired spectacularly. News of the massacre spread quickly, turning the Swedish nobility against him. Within 5 years, he was overthrown by his own brothers and spent the rest of his life in prison. Constantinople, 959 AD. Emperor. Constantine VII raised his golden cup at what seemed like a normal royal celebration. His son, Romanos, had arranged this special feast, but his plans were far from festive. Romanos had worked with palace chemists to create a poison that would only activate when mixed with the specific wine served that night. The emperor's cup held a double dose, while smaller amounts were mixed into the wine served to loyal supporters of his father. As the night went on, Constantine and many court officials became violently ill. The poison worked exactly as planned. Constantine died within days, and dozens of his most trusted advisors followed. Romanos quickly took the throne. eliminating potential rivals in one calculated move. The mass poisoning changed the entire power structure of the Byzantine court overnight, proving that sometimes the deadliest weapon at a royal feast wasn't the food, it was family ambition. In 16th century Poland, Queen Bona brought her Italian family's expertise in poisoncraft to the royal court. In 1557, she organized a lavish feast that would go down in history as Poland's deadliest dinner party. The Queen, known for her love of Italian cuisine, served a special wine sauce that contained a mixture of deadly herbs and arsenic. Her targets: several noble families who opposed her growing influence over Polish politics. The sauce was carefully added to specific dishes served to her chosen victims. As the evening progressed, guests began experiencing severe stomach pains and dizziness. By the next morning, more than a dozen influential nobles were dead. The incident sparked a major scandal, forcing Bona to flee back to Italy, where she ironically met her own end through poisoning, allegedly by one of her own servants seeking revenge. Christmas, 1489, at the court of Henry VII turned into a nightmare for Yorkshire's noble families. The king, worried about rebellion in the north, invited key Yorkshire nobles to a grand holiday feast at Westminster Palace. The celebrations seemed perfect, tables loaded with roasted peacocks, spiced wine, and special Christmas puddings prepared under the king's direct orders. But these puddings held a dark secret, a potent mix of poisonous herbs. As the nobles enjoyed their festive desserts, the poison began its work. Within hours, 20 of Yorkshire's most powerful lords were violently ill. By New Year's Day, most had died, conveniently eliminating those Henry saw as threats to his rule. The king claimed food spoilage was to blame, but medieval records suggest this was a carefully planned move to weaken northern opposition to Tudor power. Let's journey to Constantinople in 1512, where Sultan Bayezid II hosted what became known as the deadliest tea party in Ottoman history. The aging Sultan had invited his most powerful advisors to sample a new type of tea imported from distant lands. But this wasn't just any tea ceremony. It was a carefully planned elimination of rivals who supported his son Selim's claim to the throne. The special brew contained extract from a rare plant that caused a slow, painful death. As his guests sipped their drinks, praising the unique flavor, the poison gradually took effect. By sunrise, 15 high-ranking officials had died. The plan backfired, though. News of the massacre actually strengthened Selim's support, and within months, Bayezid was forced to give up his throne. The Tea Party became a famous example of how even the most peaceful-seeming royal gatherings could turn deadly. The year was 584 AD, when King Chilperic of the Merovingian dynasty hosted a feast that would shake the foundations of Frankish power. At his palace in Cherles, he gathered his most powerful nobles for what seemed like a celebration of victory. The centerpiece was a magnificent golden chalice, decorated with precious stones, from which the king would share special wine with his chosen guests. But his wife Fredegund had other plans. She had the chalice's rim coated with a paste made from deadly nightshade and hemlock. As the cup passed from noble to noble, each sip brought death closer. By morning, 12 of the kingdom's most influential lords were dead. The massacre changed the balance of power in the Frankish kingdoms, but also began a cycle of revenge that would haunt the dynasty for generations. Naples, 1348. Queen Joanna. I turned her own wedding celebration into a deadly trap. The young queen, already known for her bold political moves, invited rival noble families to what seemed like a peacemaking feast. The wedding banquet featured elaborate dishes, including a special wine served only to certain guests. This wine contained extract from deadly nightshade plants, carefully measured to kill slowly. As the celebration reached its peak, guests began falling ill. By the next morning, 30 nobles who opposed Joanna's rule were dead. The queen claimed it was a tragic accident caused by bad wine, but records suggest she planned it all. She eliminated her biggest threats while maintaining her innocent appearance. The event became known as the Wedding of Death, and showed how even joyous celebrations could hide dark intentions. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history's deadliest royal feasts. If you enjoyed these twisted tales of power and poison, hit that like button and subscribe for more fascinating historical stories. Share with friends who love dark history.